Welcome to my channel and thanks for watching this video. Please like this video if you enjoy the content and subscribe to my channel. Taking a short break from the US-Iran war project. Not actually taking a break from it, I'm still working on it, but I'm posting up this nuclear war simulation video as I'm working to finish my fourth video in that series. So today we're looking at how much damage could one Russian rogue ballistic missile sub cause to the United States. So it's just modeling their most recent deployed sub. Oops, having a little issue with that bad boy there. He's kind of just so close. Let me see if I can't get him there. Sitting on the equator, which is the, let me see if I can't zoom in. It's a little harder than I thought I would be right here. Technical difficulties. Let's see. There, got it, finally. So the most recent one, the Borai, I don't know how you pronounce it. It is the first it's replacing the Soviet era ones, the Delta 3, 4, and Typhoon, which Typhoon has been fully retired now. So I believe this is the first post-Soviet deployed ballistic missile nuclear sub. It can hold up to 16 sub-launch ballistic missiles, which I have outfitted this with 16. These are carrying the SSN-32s. These have 150 kiloton warheads, and each missile of the 16 is armed with 6 MIRVed, multiple independent reentry vehicle warheads. Oops, I don't want to set location. I want to target. In this case, we're going to target the 16 largest U.S. cities. So each of the 16 largest U.S. cities is going to get 6 warheads assigned to them. I've done some testing on this and the optimal detonation height for a 150 kiloton warhead, because the optimum height is going to be based on a few factors. But found through testing, detonating at 300 meters seems to be the sweet spot. Some of this can depend on wind patterns and fallout. But I did my testing and I went through multiple heights from surfaced 150, 250, 350, 450, 500. And I chose a single point, and that single point was right here. This military base, New York. And seemed to be pretty consistent between 250 and 350. Produced the most amount of casualties. So I have chosen 300. Just to stay consistent. And we're going to look. So the largest U.S. city, 2024 estimates would be, and this is city, not metropolitan areas, which will change the equation a little bit. For instance, Atlanta doesn't necessarily fall on, where is Atlanta actually for largest U.S. cities? 36. But it is one of the largest metropolitan areas. But it will not be impacted by this, which is really good. Reason being, I live in Atlanta now. So I'd like for Atlanta not to be nuked. But that's not why I chose that. It's based on total population. So let's place 6 warheads. So I'm going to do 1. Trying to get a good coverage here in the kill zones. The most densely populated parts. 3, 4, 5. 6. Okay, we're going to move on to the second largest, which should not be a surprise to anybody. It'd be good old Los Angeles. Los Angeles may not be as densely populated, and I said it's not looking at metropolitan areas, but as I target, I will get outside necessarily the confines. And I'm not going to go out to like San Bernardino, but it may not be exactly just the city of Los Angeles. And one more. Gonna go for the next one. It's gonna be Chicago. Where my brother-in-law lives. My wife is on the phone with her brother right now. And I'm getting ready to send a nuclear bomb. Tough family. Okay, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Gonna move to Houston. Let's go to Houston. And go to Phoenix, Arizona. You know, me and my wife, I don't know if you can hear the mower in the background. We were just commenting on how, like when we lived in Ohio and Columbus, everybody mowed their own lawn. And so every weekend, it'd be nonstop mowing to the point that, you know, it sucked to have the windows open because it's just all you would hear is just mowing lawnmower constantly. And I get it, people have to mow their yard. Here, though, virtually everybody pays to have their lawn mown. And byproduct of that, you very rarely hear it on the weekends, which is pretty nice. There are some exceptions. Philly. And my most recent trip to Philly, I can tell you, not going to be a huge loss. I don't mean that completely, though. There's nice places in Philly, just like anywhere else. San Antonio. Again, we're seeing a mix of quite spread out population centers and quite densely populated. So that's kind of impacting how I'm laying these. San Diego. And we are going for maximum loss. So we're not striking, you know, completely a counter value strikes, not counter force. So we're not looking to take out military targets, just the maximum amount of impact. Dallas. And Jacksonville, Florida. Where's Jacksonville? Okay, there it is. San Jose. Oh, and actually we got Fort Worth, which is just right there, right beside Dallas. Texas always gets heavily targeted in almost any nuclear war simulation between large cities and military out bases. I'm gonna go to. So next one is San Jose, but then the one after that's Austin. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Austin now. 6. Move out to San Jose. Apologies to Mr. Frank Shamrock. You know, man, you know, he's out in San Jose. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we got Charlotte, North Carolina. Thankfully, Ric Flair has moved. He no longer lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. So as long as we know Rick's good, that's all that matters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Final 2, Columbus and Indianapolis. Man, there's so many places I've lived or been to that's going to be targeted. There goes campus short north. more of the north, Grove City, West Side, Hilltop, Bottoms. Don't want to leave the south end out. And let's do Polaris. Indianapolis. I mean, do you really need to drop a bomb on Indianapolis? I mean, it's kind of 4, 5. All right. So everything's been targeted. Let's just go with plan A. Let's take a look here. Let's see what we got. So you can see the trajectory. 16 largest cities targeted. Let's go ahead and kick things off. So we're going to execute the plan. Let's take this off. And let's go ahead and watch as we start to engage. Now, a couple of assumptions always put into any simulation. Assumption being that this is catching the U.S. off guard, so I haven't modeled any ballistic missile defense systems. The nuclear war simulator doesn't do a very good job of that. Now, I could use command modern operations to model that, and I probably will at some point to see what gets through. So sometimes I use these sims in conjunction. So I start with a command modern operation, see what actually gets through, and then I use nuclear war simulator to target those locations to see what the actual losses would be. Be nice if that kind of loss casualty thing could ever be modeled into command modern operations, but it's already doing so much. I mean, the sim would just really probably overload your CPU pretty heavy, but hey, CPUs are getting more powerful, more cores at least, and more efficient. They're not necessarily running faster. I think heat's a limiting factor there. So right now, these are the actual missiles. So you're going to see 16 of them. Eventually, they're going to break off. The warheads will break off, and that's when you start to see the red triangles. And then once those triangles start to split apart, that's when we see the MIRVed start splitting. And then each missile is likely to carry countermeasures against ballistic missile defense systems, decoy warheads possibly. China is working on an AI, started as a joint U.S.-Chinese venture, that will detect decoy warheads from the real thing, which is a very interesting development. Be interesting if we're doing the same and if there's going to be some type of application towards this Golden Dome system coming out, which I'll make a video about down the road. Still so much unknown about the Golden Dome system. Of course, there's a lot of comparisons with the Strategic Defense Initiative from the 80s and what the size and scope is going to be. So a lot of unknowns. We'll try to figure out as more details come out, what's known and what we can do. I think the only thing known is the idea that it'd be less than 200 billion and finished in 3 years is probably something akin to a fantasy. But that doesn't mean it's not a viable plan or system. All right, we're starting to see the MIRVs break off. We're going to be seeing attacks across multiple cities here. "16 of the most populated cities in the U.S. So that's 6 warheads, 650 kilotons per city. So we're looking at 900 kilotons of nuclear ordnance dropping on our 16 largest cities, 1 Russian ballistic missile sub. Columbus and Indianapolis just got hit. Let's just zoom in here and see. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at casualties. Calculating now. Wow. 18.1 million casualties. That represents 5.7% of the United States population, and that's going to be pretty much instantaneously wiped out. Some people could look at this and say that's not a high number, which would be kind of ridiculous, but you always get some strange people commenting sometimes. 5.7% of your population killed in a matter of 34 minutes is an absolute huge deal. That would be nation destroying type of deal. We're talking 1.6 million eventual cancer fatalities. To add on to that, 351,000 square kilometers having to be evacuated. Not to mention 4,413 casualties in Mexico, which wouldn't account for goods, services, trade things that would have an impact on Mexico. Short-term fallout doses, long-term. So this can't model those intangibles, like what impact would this have on food distribution, medical supplies, goods and services. This is only looking at, casualties that happened due to the immediate effects of the bombs. So that casualty rate, that 5.7%, would climb higher. And this is one ballistic missile sub. So, question going to be, how many does Russia have deployed for ballistic missiles? You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at a given time. They have some cruise missile subs as well, so you see some additional subs. You'll see French subs. This has everybody's systems. This is my base I go off of and model it from there. So now they don't necessarily have all 6 warheads applied to each of the ballistic missiles. So like the U.S. doesn't max out their MIRVs on their bombs at any given time, but this would be the maximum armament carried by this particular ballistic missile sub. And as you can see, it can cause an enormous amount of damage, one sub. So it's a threat posed. If you're not aware of the incident, there was an incident in the 60s, and it is, let's just say, not known for sure, but there's been a theory, and if you read the book Red Star Rogue, that a Soviet sub went rogue and was going to launch their ballistic missiles at Hawaii in an attempt to frame China to cause a rift between China and the United States. This is after the Sino-Soviet split. This is after the rapprochement with China between the U.S. It's the K-129 sub. And while it's not, say, necessarily, Red Star Rogue is one particular take on it. I'm not saying that's the truth of the matter, what happened. It could have been sank by a U.S. sub. There's a lot of questions. There was a U.S. ballistic sub that went missing as well. Around the same time frame, there was 4 subs altogether spread between France, I think Israel, United States, and Russia, or Soviet Union, that all went missing, all in the same little time frame. So, but it's one possibility. It's been postulated, whatever it is, that it went rogue due to some KGB activity, and that there was some type of failsafe. So when they attempted to fire these missiles rogue, the sub itself was destroyed. Now, whether or not it happened, obviously, again, that's for other people to debate, but there's always going to have to be in the back of anyone's mind what happens if something does go rogue. on a military, and what kind of damage could they cause, and what would be the long-term impact. Because as these would be detected, the U.S., even if somehow our ICBM silos were destroyed, we have something right here called the Ohio-class ballistic missile subs, which has an enormous armament, which would be enough to lay waste to China, Russia, North Korea, and about any other adversary about 100 times over. And I've made videos about just what different nations' ballistic missile subs can do. So there would obviously be a massive retaliation potential. So it's dangerous what could happen due to the actions of a very small few. Hope everybody enjoyed this. Stay tuned. If you haven't seen the U.S.-Iran Project War Series, check that out. There'll be links in the description. And stay tuned, because by Monday, maybe Tuesday at the latest, I should have part 4 up. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.